Good afternoon and welcome to SBCERA's Mid-Career Webinar. We're really glad you're here. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to learn more about how you can prepare for future retirement. My name is Jalelle Braden and I am the Communications Specialist at SBCERA. I serve alongside amazing public servants here, and we have a few staff members joining us today, which include a retirement specialist who will be answering and monitoring questions in the Q&A box. We have a few housekeeping rules to share. At any time during the presentation, you can ask a question by clicking the Q&A chat box, which is located on the bottom toolbar of your screen. If you can't think of any questions today, but want to ask a general question in the future, you can send us a message and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Let's go over today's agenda. Today's webinar is scheduled from 1:30 p.m. to 4 p.m. We will be kicking off today's webinar by sharing SBCERA's presentation. We are also joined by a few others representing the Employees Benefit and Services Division and Voya. As a reminder, all of this information will be emailed to you tomorrow in a recap, which include a recording of the webinar and any of the materials that we share during today's webinar. While the presentation is taking place, we will share important links to resources and attachments into the chat that you can reference during today's webinar. I want to note that while we are sharing this information during today's webinar, you will also have an opportunity to have a consultation appointment with a retirement specialist who will walk you through all of the information again and make sure that you feel 100% confident in the decision that you are making, and it will be more personalized to you and your circumstances. Please know that you do not have to remember all of this information. Let's get started. A little information about SBCERA, which stands for San Bernardino County Employees Retirement Association. You probably remember hearing about us when you started your membership with us as a new employee with one of our SBCERA covered employers. Or you may have heard from us throughout your career, or maybe you've had some questions in between. Now you're going to get to know us a lot more as you get closer to retirement. Congratulations on getting to this stage in your career. We are an over $14 billion trust fund, and we invest in your future for years to come so that we can pay a promised benefit now and well into the future. As an SBCERA member, you are promised a lifetime monthly benefit. The benefit that you will receive is based on the hours that you work and how long you've worked, and a few other factors that help us calculate your lifetime retirement benefit. We will get into more of those specifics later in the presentation. We are a multiple employer-defined benefit plan, which means we serve multiple employers, our largest being San Bernardino County. In addition, we serve South Coast Air Quality Management District, the City of Chino Hills, City of Big Bear Lake, and the list goes on. If you're interested, you can view a list of our employers on our website. We serve over 48,000 members and their beneficiaries, and we are governed by a board of retirement made up of 11 trustees. We have elections for our active members and for our retirees who get to vote on who serves them on the Board of Retirement. So please stay engaged to ensure your voice is represented. We are governed by legislation and California law. The 1937 Act, also known as the County Employees Retirement Law, and the Public Employees Pension Reform Act, which was established on January 1 of 2013, is what created Tier 2. You may be familiar with the differences of Tier 1 versus Tier 2, but we will get into what that means shortly. So, that was a brief overview of who we are. Retirement plan differences. You may be familiar with what those differences are, but if not, here's a quick review. We are a defined benefit plan, and what that means is that your membership is mandatory for full-time employees who serve at SBCERA covered employers. Alternatively, there are other plans like a 457B or a 401k plan. Those plans are voluntary but highly recommended. When we think of retirement, we think of it as a three-legged stool, and we are one of the legs of that stool and that stability. We are one of the biggest legs of that stool, but we do encourage you to look into other alternate supplemental plans like a 457B or a 401k plan. Some of the differences are a defined contribution plan is optional, while a defined benefit plan is mandatory. You get to choose the amount or percentage that you would like to contribute and manage your investments within a DC plan. But under a DB plan like SBCERA, We determine your contribution rate. We manage your investments, and we determine how your contributions are invested. Usually within a DC plan, you can invest more to get more, but there are risks associated with this type of plan. You elect how much you've put into that plan and how much you've contributed. And once you begin drawing from that fund and the fund is gone, it's gone. With a defined benefit plan like SBCERA, it is a lifetime monthly benefit. So as long as you're alive, you will collect your retirement benefit. Once you pass away, your designated beneficiary or beneficiaries may be eligible for a continuance of that benefit. Your benefit is based on a formula that we will go over during today's presentation. It is important to know that your pension is secure and it is stable. Tiers and contributions. I mentioned earlier, Pepper created a second tier. So if you joined an SBCERA covered employer prior to January 1 of 2013, you're a Tier 1 member. You can also be a Tier 1 member if you've established reciprocity with another California public retirement system, if you were employed with them prior to January 1 of 2013. For Tier 1 members, your percentage depends on your entry age. Your entry age is the closest age at the time of hire, and it stays the same throughout your career. Your contribution rate, whether Tier 1 or Tier 2, can be found on our website at sbcera.org/contributions. If you're a Tier 2 member, that means you joined an SBCERA covered employer after January 1 of 2013. Contribution rates are set annually by the SBCERA Board of Retirement, and it is important to know that your benefit isn't based on your contributions, but they are determined by actuarial valuations and financial actuaries that help determine what the contributions should be. It is also based on a lot of different information, including life expectancy, how many members we have, and so much more. Copies of those reports are also available on our website. There are a few different examples of contributions listed on this slide that you can reference, and all general members contribute 92 cents per pay period for survivor benefits. Different retirement types. You're probably most familiar with the service retirement benefit, and more than likely is why you're attending today's webinar. As shared previously, a service retirement benefit is a monthly retirement benefit with a continuance to your eligible beneficiary. There is also a disability benefit, which means you are permanently incapable of performing usual job duties. There are two different types of disability benefits. One is the service-connected disability benefit, and the other is a non-service-connected disability benefit. If it is a non-service-connected disability benefit, you must be vested in the plan with at least 5 or more years of service credit. We also have a deferred retirement benefit, which means your contributions stay on deposit until you're eligible and ready to retire. 5 or more years of service credit is also a requirement should you choose to defer your retirement. I briefly mentioned reciprocity earlier, and what this means in short is the merging of two systems. As an example, prior to joining SBCERA, I worked for a CalPERS covered employer for a year. And once I became an employee, I let them know about the year of service credit that I earned with my previous employer. I was able to establish reciprocity, which gave me a year of service credit with SBCERA, which now counts towards that vesting period. So how can you establish reciprocity? You would have been asked about reciprocity when you first started your membership with SBCERA. But if you haven't done so yet and you think you may be eligible, we want to make sure you establish reciprocity prior to retirement. There are some rules associated with establishing reciprocity. The first is no more than a 6-month break in service, and you couldn't have been receiving a pension from another system or association, and you couldn't have withdrawn your contributions. There is no overlapping in service credit, and you must elect reciprocity. When you do retire and have established reciprocity, or you're going to, it's important to remember that you have to file an application for retirement with each system in advance and indicate the same retirement effective date. I'm certain that you know when you can retire, but just in case, this slide covers retirement eligibility, and it is information that you want to remember. For General Tier 1 members, you can retire any age with at least 30 or more years of service credit, or if you are at least 50 or older with at least 10 or more years of service credit. Any active part-time members at the age of 55 or older with 10 or more years of membership and 5 or more years of service credit can retire. General Tier 2 members must be at least age 52 or older with at least 5 or more years of service credit. Tier 1 safety members can retire any age with 20 or more years of service credit, age 50 or older with 10 or more years of service credit, or any active part-time member ages 55 or older with 10 or more years of membership and 5 or more years of service credit. Tier 2 safety members must be at least 50 or older with 5 or more years of service credit. And lastly, any active members at age 70 or above with any amount of service can retire. I'm going to share a quick overview about how we calculate your retirement benefit. Your benefit is based on 4 factors. The first is your age at retirement. Remember, every quarter year increases your retirement benefit percentage. The second is your service credit and the amount of service credit you have. 1 year of service credit equals 2,087 hours. The third is your membership type and tier. The formula for Tier 1 general members is 2% at age 55, Tier 1 safety 3% at age 50, and the formula for Tier 2 general members is 2.5% at age 67, and Tier 2 safety is 2.7% at age 57. And lastly, your final average compensation, also known as FAC. There is a difference on how we determine your highest average compensation that is based on your tier. I will share more about that on the next slide. The final average compensation for Tier 1 members is the highest compensation earnable over any 12 consecutive months. Your base salary plus other pay components are determined to be earnable compensation. Some examples include bilingual pay or shift differential. For Tier 2 members, it is your highest pensionable compensation over any 36 consecutive months. Your final average compensation excludes overtime hours. We encourage you to contact your employer and reference your MOU for details on what is compensation earnable. We also have information on the employer page of our website, which includes a list of employer pay codes, and it is redlined to indicate what is compensation earnable and what can help determine your final average compensation. Please be sure to reach out if you have any questions. Here we have an overview example of how your benefit increases over time. It is based on a couple of factors used to calculate your benefit. In the left-hand column is an example of how many years of service credit someone would have. This is a Tier 1 general membership example table. On the top row, where it starts with 55, that is an example of ages. If a Tier 1 general member had 15 years of service credit and they were 55 years old, and the multiplier is 2% at 55, that's 30% of the member's benefit. If the member continued to work and continues to age, the benefit increases at a diagonal progression, which you can see in the green boxes. If this member elected to defer their retirement and the member is 58 years old with 18 years of service credit, the member would receive 42.07%. The lighter blue color on this chart shows their benefit calculation still increases, but instead of it growing at a diagonal progression, it grows at a lateral progression. You can access your SBCERA account to estimate a benefit that is specific to you. If you need assistance with calculating the benefit, please reach out to us. It's a great tool and resource. Purchasing service. You now have the ability to go into SBCERA and submit a service purchase estimate. You can fill that out and have a contract generated at the end of the process. The first type of service purchase is a redeposit of withdrawn contributions. An example of when to select this type of service purchase is if you left an SBCERA covered employer and withdrew your contributions, and then later returned to an SBCERA covered employer, but want to redeposit your withdrawn contributions. The rules for a redeposit are all or nothing, meaning it has to be all of what you previously withdrew, and the allowable uses of time include vesting, retirement eligibility, and add service credit. You may also be eligible for past ineligible service. This option is usually for past part-time, temporary, contract, or seasonal employees. There aren't any rules associated with this option, and the allowable uses of time include vesting, retirement eligibility, and add service credit. The third option is authorized leave. This is most commonly purchased by military or someone with past injuries or illnesses. The rules for authorized leave is up to 12 consecutive months per sick leave, and this option also counts towards vesting, retirement eligibility, and adds service credit. Lastly, PPAS, or Prior Public Agency Service, is commonly purchased by state, federal, or military employees and some cities and counties. Certain rules apply based on service under this option, and although the allowable use of time adds service credit and may increase your benefit, this option does not count towards vesting and retirement eligibility. There are a few different payment options available listed here. A disclaimer: a service purchase may not benefit you in the event the board grants you a disability retirement. Please contact SBCERA for more information. Sometimes purchasing service makes sense for some members, and for others it doesn't. But we encourage you to run an estimate to see if it makes sense for you. When you're an active member, you can change your designated and alternate beneficiary at any time. But at retirement, it is impossible. There is only one exception, and I will share more on that, but it is very important to know who you're designating at retirement, and we do ask for that information in your service retirement application. Designating a beneficiary prior to retirement is the person or persons designated to receive survivor benefits. Eligible persons take precedence, and you can designate more than one. You can designate your primary beneficiary and alternates. You can revoke as needed, and beneficiaries may have some options. At retirement, a beneficiary is a person designated to receive a monthly continuance and/or lump sum upon your death. And you determine what benefits your beneficiaries receive by choosing a retirement option. I will share those options in the next few slides. Lastly, you cannot change your beneficiaries after retirement. There's only one exception: death before retirement. There are a few different benefits to know about. There is the optional death allowance, and you as a member must be vested, and this only applies to your spouse, domestic partner, or eligible minor child. It is a monthly payment, 60% of non-service connected disability retirement or service retirement, whichever is greater. There is the modified death allowance, and the member must be vested. It is only available to your spouse or domestic partner. There is a 1 month's compensation for every year of completed service up to 6 months, plus a reduced monthly lifetime benefit based on the age of your beneficiary. The death benefit goes to any named beneficiary, including a spouse, adult child, sibling, or your estate. It is a lump sum of refundable contributions plus 1 month's compensation for every completed year of service up to 6 months maximum. We highly recommend having a special durable power of attorney form on file. You want to make sure you have designated who should have control and access to your retirement account decisions and information in the case that something happens to you. We have a copy of this form that you can complete that makes it easy to keep it on file with us, and you can also visit our website and find this document under Forms. There are additional death benefits for general members with at least 18 months of continuous membership with SBCERA. Your spouse and/or dependent children may also be entitled to a monthly survivor benefit. Your beneficiary would qualify for a $255 burial allowance. This is only available to a spouse, domestic partner, or eligible minor child. There are also additional death benefits for safety members. If you are a safety member and you die while in the performance of duty, your spouse will receive an additional lump sum payment equal to 1 year's compensation. If you have eligible children, your spouse will receive an additional monthly benefit. One child will receive 25% of the amount you are receiving as active compensation each month. 2 children will receive 40% of the amount you are receiving as active compensation each month. And 3 or more children will receive 50% of the amount you are receiving as active compensation each month. You can visit our website at sbcera.org/survivor benefits for more information about survivor benefits. Beneficiary options for retirement. Your eligible beneficiaries for unmodified options include a spouse or domestic partner. You have to have been married or registered in the state of California 1 year prior to your effective retirement date, or post-retirement, married or registered for at least 2 years before your death to a spouse or domestic partner who is at least 55 or older, which is the only exception I referred to earlier in the presentation about changing your beneficiaries after retirement. It could also be your eligible child who is unmarried or dependent child under the age of 18 while you are alive, or a full-time student unmarried to the age of 21. Designated beneficiaries for options 1 through 4 could be anyone with an insurable interest in the member's life. Let's talk about retirement benefit options. At retirement, you will be asked to choose a retirement election benefit option. The first option is the unmodified option, and probably one of our more popular options that we see members select at retirement. This option is a maximum life retirement benefit for you. The benefit to your beneficiary include a 60% continuance to eligible beneficiary, which can be your eligible spouse, registered domestic partner, or minor child. Special considerations under this option are, if there isn't an eligible beneficiary, then a lump sum of undistributed refundable contributions, if any, can be given to your designated beneficiary. Under a very limited circumstance, you may be able to change your beneficiary after you retire under this option. And the requirement for this very limited circumstance is that you are married or registered for at least 2 years before your death to a spouse or domestic partner who is at least 55 years or older. Option 1 is a reduced lifetime retirement benefit for you, and it is based on your life expectancy. Sometimes members choose this option if they have a terminal illness. Some benefits to your beneficiary are designated beneficiaries receive a lump sum of undistributed refundable contributions in your account. There aren't any special considerations for this option, but this is the only option that allows you to change your beneficiary at any time. Option 2 is a reduced lifetime retirement benefit based on your age and the age of your beneficiary. This is a 100% continuance of your reduced benefit amount to your designated beneficiary. A special consideration is your designated beneficiary must have an insurable interest in your life, and you cannot change your beneficiary after you retire with this option. Option 3 is a reduced lifetime retirement benefit for you based on your age and the age of your beneficiary. The benefit to your beneficiaries is 50% continuance of your reduced benefit amount to your designated beneficiary. And similar to option 2, your designated beneficiary must have an insurable interest in your life. You cannot change your beneficiary after you retire. Lastly, option 4 is a reduced lifetime retirement benefit based on your age and the age of your beneficiary or beneficiaries. This is a custom continuance to one or more beneficiaries. This is the only option that requires you to pay for an actuary study conducted by SBCERA's actuary. And similar to option 2 and 3, with option 4, you cannot change your beneficiaries after you retire. Choosing when to retire is a big decision. Some members choose to retire on their birthday because every quarter year counts up to a certain age for different years. Some members choose to retire based on their leave accruals. You may be eligible to complete a cash out prior to retirement, and this may increase your final average compensation for the year. End of the calendar year is also a popular time to retire. At retirement, you may receive lump sum payments for any remaining leave accruals, and if they're included in your taxable income, they may place you in a higher tax bracket. Spring is also a very popular time to retire, and that is because if you retire before or on April 1st, your benefit will likely include a cost of living adjustment, also known as the COLA. Let's talk more about the COLA. It is an annual cost of living adjustment, and if approved by the Board of Retirement, the adjustment is made April 1st of each year. The COLA cannot exceed 2%, and it is based on the Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Price Index, also known as the CPI, and as of November 30th, and it is rounded to the nearest 0.5%. For example, on November 30th, 2022, the published CPI was 7.49%, and on April 1st, 2023, retirees and beneficiaries received a 2% COLA adjustment, with 6% going into their COLA bank. Since the CPI was greater than the annual 2% annual cap, 6% went to their COLA bank. So, On the years where the CPI is greater than 2%, the additional percent goes into retirees' COLA bank. On the years that the CPI is below 2% or even zero, retirees will be able to draw from their COLA bank. You can visit our website at sbcera.org/COLA to learn more about how the cost of living works, and we also have an informative frequently asked question document that answers a lot of the main questions we typically receive regarding the COLA. At SBCERA, we have many resources available. Our website, sbcera.org, is our information hub, and we encourage you to check it out if you haven't done so already. There is a ton of information and additional resources and materials that help you prepare for retirement. My SBCERA is your online member portal, and I've mentioned it several times throughout today's presentation. I really encourage you to sign up if you haven't already. There are many resources available in your member portal, both as a current active member and after retirement as a retiree. Our retirement representatives are here to help and answer any questions you have. Your annual member statement is also a great reference. Our retirement consultation guide is available on our website under Planning Your Service Retirement. Our member guide is a summary plan description, and it is also available on our website. We encourage you to follow us on social media and stay connected. Lastly, here is our contact information if you have any questions. Thank you so much, and we hope you enjoy the rest of today's webinar.